Hello, my name is Victoria, and I'm going to present my executive summary. My research question is, what are recommended practices for assessing dual language learners, or just DLLs? This topic is important to me because, first of all, my personal background and experience as dual language learner. Second, it's important to my family as I'm raising 3 kids and I want them to be at least bilingual, so I want to use that information effectively for my personal use. And thirdly, my extensive background with learning and teaching a second language have shaped my career as an immersion educator. So here's an outline of my summary. I'm going to talk about problems that dual language learners face, as well as recommendations that research suggests to assess the students. It is important to mention that the number of English language learners comprise 20% of the whole student body, and this is a 2009 statistic, so it could have been more by now, given that number of ELL students is constantly rising. And by 2050, some research suggests that children from racial and ethnic groups that are traditionally minorities will no longer be a minority group. Now I'm going to list problems that English language learners face in schools. First is that the biggest problem is that schools are not adequately prepared to work with children of different language. Also, it is important to understand language as a part of a culture. And the third issue is that different ages, background, degrees of exposure to second language have to be taken into account. So let's talk briefly about the first problem, the lack of preparation. There is a great concern about quality of classroom interactions used regularly by teachers with DLL students, and the New Jersey study suggests that only about 1/3 of teachers reported that they feel adequately prepared to teach dual language learners. And this is a major issue, as the class interaction in dual language classes should be different than in regular classrooms. Next problem is the importance of understanding language as a part of a culture. Besides the language aspect itself, there is a whole concept of culture attached to home language, and language develops within the context of a child's home culture, and that culture's values and beliefs influence how and when child is to use the language. And with a new language, children learn new culture, and how positive or negative that experience is, it will have strong influence on their future success in school and in life. Next issue is different ages, background, and degrees of exposure to second language that have to be taken into account when working with the students. The teacher really needs to be knowledgeable about cultural and linguistic diversity, knowledge of first and second language acquisition, sensitivity in working with culturally and linguistically diverse families. And some researchers offer for backgrounds of ELL students. First, newly arrived students with adequate formal schooling. Second, newly arrived students with limited formal schooling. Students exposed to 2 languages simultaneously, and long-term English language learners. Now let's take a look into recommendations that offered through a research. It is suggested to learn about important factors influencing the process of second language learning. Factors such as background, age, level of language, and etc. Without thorough understanding of students' background and current literacy levels, teachers will have difficulty providing effective instruction to meet the unique needs of ELO students. Also, it is suggested to identify the purpose of assessment and then decide how to assess. Teachers could modify traditional assessment, and especially the teacher-made test could be modified, and I think teachers should really take advantage of it. The performance assessment is considered to be the most effective assessment to use with the DLLs, and as it allows to instruct and assess at the same time. And some examples include observations, journals, portfolios, and self-assessment. The next is simple but important. Children need to understand tests, and teachers should ask more questions. They could prepare tests in 2 languages, and students could choose which one they will respond to, or they could have different types of tasks requiring different modes of response. Again, children's age, timing needed for testing, amount of language, quality, and context should be taken into account. Use of parents' assistance is also important. The research suggests that educators need to learn from families about their strengths and assets, students' expectations and views about children's development, and child's early experience in a home. This information will definitely help teachers to build a bridge between the home and the school cultures, which will foster the DLL's healthy social-emotional development and promote their school readiness. Also, using students' native language as an assessment resource and allow code switching, which is permitting students to switch between languages if it's easier for them, and also develop diverse workforce. This is about the recommendations, and now I wanted to summarize a few points that I found interesting from this study. First of all, despite all the benefits of speaking a few languages, the research was consistent to demonstrate the gap between DLL and English-speaking students, and this is larger occurs due to the schools being unprepared to work with children of different languages. And the second interesting point that I found is the whole concept of second language as a part of a culture. We used to think about language in a concept of different sounds and words. However, there is a deeper meaning attached to the concept of language, including culture, background, learning habits, age, and etc. So given the challenges the DLL students face in schools, it is worthwhile to look into the problem and see what can be done and what should be done to promote learning equally among all students. Thank you very much.